Hello and welcome to Media Lit, where we treat each piece of media like great literature. I am your host, Randy and joining me, as always, is my buddy Kris Ingersoll, the King of Boston, who just brought myself and a few of our podcasting buddies on a wonderful walking tour of the city where we got to bond and come together. It was a really lovely Sunday. Kris, how are you doing? And did you have as great of a time as I did?
So good, Randy. Even better now because I just got to go into my mind and relive that lovely stroll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a blast last weekend with you all. Too rare that we get together, you and I. Forget about being able to get Alex, Marcus, or anybody else to join us. So it was a real treat. I don't often go into the city unless it's for work. So to go in like I'm a young person and enjoy the city for its social offerings was great. Yeah. You were back to school today. How was work?
You know, I was a little bit bummed out last night, but appreciative that I got a nice vacation. And I had a really lovely day with the students, and it's already Friday tomorrow. So, I mean, what a gift. How could I complain with such a great gift? So I'm feeling great. I'm podding with you, Kris, and I'm about to step into another weekend. Life is good.
Yeah, a couple of quick days back to work, to the weekend. Not too bad. And yeah, man, so stoked to be podding with you. It feels like, I think we said before we hit record, feels like it's been forever. I don't know why, since we did a classic lit together.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a busy end of the year, Kris. We had all sorts of great holiday content coming out. We did a whole collaboration with Should I Go See It? I guested on Batman by the Numbers, your other podcast. We've just had so much big stuff going on. It's been a minute since we had a two-hander, just you and I. So I'm looking forward to it.
Are you really just going to breeze over the holiday movie draft like that? The big collaboration, as you said? Ladies and gentlemen, to the podlings at home who may or may not have caught the holiday movie draft, Randy performed very well in the end. You might have been listening, and you may have been concerned for Randy. You would have heard him suffer a tremendous amount of violence in the very first round as he exposed booby trap after booby trap, and he let some of the most premier picks walk away from him right into the clutches of AJ Rebecca. But dude, the voting said otherwise. You really held your own.
Yeah, I was briefly in the lead. I will say AJ did roll in and claim his crown when all was said and done. But like, listen, AJ, if you're listening, I know that you came in swinging into that podcast. But in all honesty, man, you were so kind to us, and I had such a blast podcasting with you and the whole team. Quite frankly, I almost voted for your board as well. I think you put together an incredible list of movies, including two of the films I tried to grab with my first pick. So I think you hit it out of the park, man, and congratulations, a well-earned victory.
That's how high road we are in this pod. We will even vote for the other drafter. My goodness gracious, you're a good man.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't. I still voted for myself, but I thought about it. I really thought about it.
and that is the spirit of the season, isn't it?
Yeah,
we had a blast of a holiday season. I can't believe it's already year end, which also means the end of a Media Lit season. I mean, season one in the books. To the podlings at home, I can tease that we will be sort of officially closing our last chapter with an end of year episode. What's the best way to tell somebody you love them? What's the best way to show somebody you care? Well, if you were born sometime before the year 1999, that might just be making a mixtape. And so Randy and I are going to do our best to show each other just how much we care after a year of potting together with a little end-of-year playlist exchange. So stay tuned for that and a big celebration of all that we've done so far and a look ahead to all that we'll do in 2025.
Yeah, great way to come full circle. Our first official podcast together as co-hosts was our Coyote Ugly episode where we reminisced about road trips and road trip playlists. So this feels like a perfect way to wrap up season one and just bring it to a beautiful conclusion.
Did people make mixtapes after 1999? People born after 99? I'm not certain. I was still burning CDs in 06. I was still burning CDs maybe as late as 2010.
Yeah, I am sitting next to a CD burner right now, as a matter of fact. My car has a CD player, and I continue to burn CDs. And I think there are maybe a few cool kids of a younger generation who've known a CD burner once or twice in their life. And if not, it'll come back around.
I guess they make Spotify playlists for each other now.
Yeah, like honestly, Chris, I no longer feel like a young teacher at school, but the last couple of years, students have started to like leaf through my CD collection that I keep in the classroom. Like it's a really cool thing. Like this is the first time it's come back around.
You,
It's
you're
like a
not
cool, yeah.
you're not the young teacher anymore. In fact, you're so old that now you're retro cool. That's a whole new phase of cool.
I'm going for it anyway, right? No, but in all honesty, we've had such a great year, such a great holiday season. I can't wait for all of you to join us for all those treats. We'll tease more about season 2 next time. But today we are here to get back on track with our New to Who series. Way back in episode 2 of Media Lit, we started the process of me taking on the role of the Doctor so that I could introduce newcomer Kris to the world of the Whovian fandom. So to this date, we have done 2 episodes together on Doctor Who. We did an episode on Heaven Sent, the Peter Capaldi joint, which Chris really enjoyed, to get a look at the inner workings of the mind palace of the Doctor. We later rewound to classic season 3 episode Blink, where Chris got a glance at David Tennant's 10th Doctor. In the intervening months, we got very busy, but Chris sneakily started checking in on Unshuti Gatwa's run as the 15th Doctor. So we'll get an update on how that's going. So we've got a budding Whovian here with a unique view and perspective, and we're going to take that fandom another step today. So if you've never caught an episode of New to Who before, I'm going to recommend that you go back through our episodes. The fastest way to do this would be to visit our website, as a matter of fact, which you can find online. And we've got a whole page devoted just to our New to Who segments, our 2 full episodes, and the 1 mini-sode where we revisited Chris's transgression. And I gave him full permission to watch as much of the Anshuti Gatwa run as he would like. But before we reveal where we're going today, it's time to get back up to speed. And Chris, I was hoping you could walk us through your Whovian journey so far. We've taken some steps together. You've taken some steps on your own. Where were we and how's it going?
We have been to too many times and places for me to really even wrap my head around it. I feel probably as addled already as the average companion feels in their first few time isn't a thing for them. Their first few adventures with the Doctor, because I mean, with Ruby Sunday, for instance, I've watched her live a whole lifetime in a little Welsh village, right? With Capaldi, I've spent millennia with the Doctor. So I've been through too many times and places to really track or have kept track of any of that. But I can tell you that what struck me most so far, honestly, first of all, it's fun. It's a blasty blast. I think I said early on that the charm of it for me really is in some of like the balance in effects. The practical effects give it this perfect, not too highbrow vibe that allows me to really embrace the most sci-fi elements of the story, right? But the other thing that stuck out most to me has been the different flavors of the Doctors. I can't believe this is meant to be the same Time Lord iterating over time, because they're all so very different. And I think that is what I'm most enticed by, as I will eventually unify my experience and I'll have watched from one Doctor through the rest. Understanding that character through these many facets, I think, is what entices me most. They're all have been mind-blowing in their own right. The lore is already intriguing to me, specifically some of what I learned from 12 and what I most recently learned from 11. The episode we watched, Heaven Sent, really got me salivating for the bigger concepts in the Who
Hmm.
universe. And already this one exposure to 11 double down on that excitement. But it's 15 that for me, because I've watched more consecutive episodes with 15, the sense of adventure, the sense of fun, the sense of
Hmm.
momentum lives there. So now, right now, when I close my eyes and I picture the Doctor, and I picture the Doctor's TARDIS, and I picture the Doctor's companion, it's 15.
That makes me so happy, Chris, because everyone comes in with their own doctor. And there's a good chance that Unshuti Gatwa will always be your doctor, even after you love some of these other performances. And I think that's such a special thing and such a wonderful thing. I can come in with like my original love for David Tennant, coming in with New Who. The Whovians who have been in it for decades have their doctors back in the classic Who era. And we've got new crops of people coming in. Jodie Whittaker is the doctor for so many people. Unshuti Gatwa is now the doctor for so many people. So I love that we're adding that new perspective to our slow burn new to Who series, and I'm really excited for it. In fact, I'm so excited that I've renamed the next segment of our new to Who segments. I'm calling this the Evolving Whovian. In the past, I've used this segment of the pod to hit Chris with a lot of trivia, asked him to define things. And today I'm really more interested in character and character dynamics, these little tastes of uh, not only the Doctor and his people, the Time Lords, but also companions and the relationships between all of these people. Now, I still haven't revealed today's episode. Of course, it's in the episode title. So if you're listening, you probably know where we're going to go. But the question of Time Lords and the legacy of Time Lords is front and center in this episode. So, Chris, based on these little tastes that you've had, I mean, you saw Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor literally trapped by his own people inside of a prison for millions of years. You saw the glimmer of hope in Matt Smith's eye in the episode you most recently watched, and you've seen a few different Time Lords. How do you feel about these people, the Time Lords, based on these tiny little glimpses you've been given so far?
Well, I can tell you that the Time Lord that I've spent time with
Hmm.
is a friend, a person I would love to adventure with, a being I would love to adventure with, I should say. But the Time Lords as a whole, I get the distinct impression that they're not a good hang. Now, I
Hmm.
know that I've heard 15 like gush about time travelers, like, whoa, like they're like the best. But I can't help but feel like our doctor, who is this roguish, charming, good hearted fellow, is actually, I can't help but think that they're an anomaly amongst the greater body of Time Lords. I can't help but liken the Time Lords in my mind to other sort of all powerful groups of disconnected, um, powerful cosmic beings, right? Like I
Hmm.
think of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the DC universe. Um, I don't trust those folks, right? The folks who've achieved
Hmm.
so much power and so much quote unquote wisdom that they calculate lives by the millions, right? They'll make decisions um, that that are pragmatic and they are informed by um, a greater good, but devoid of the passion that comes with humanity, of living among the beings that breathe and bleed and love and die. I don't trust the Time Lords to
Hmm.
understand the little people. And so that's my general impression so far.
Yeah, Chris, you are such a smart reader. You really know how to take a text and get right to the core of it. You're asking all the right questions. All the questions you are posing are the questions that all the different writers and showrunners of at least the new Who era that I'm really familiar with have really been fascinated by for many, many years now. So, yeah, you're asking the same questions they are asking, and you're going to see a lot of meditations on that concept from a lot of different perspectives. So, congratulations. Love how smart you are. Love how insightful you are. But let's have a little bit more fun. as you know, on Media Lit, we love to gamify things a little bit. And I was trying to figure out, like, how can I really get to the core of how Kris feels about these characters? And I thought we could play a little game. Um, one game that's been played many, many times before is a little game often referred to as Fuck, Marry, Kill, which can be a fun thought experiment and thought exercise. Um, I'm not above playing the game, but Kris, we're such good boys, you and I. It didn't feel like the right vibe, especially when I think about all of like these really like strong companions who are often female characters that we're talking about. I want to make sure we get to explore everyone with the proper like sense of respect. So I was trying to figure out how do we get the benefits of that game without making it feel gross. So I have devised my own version of this game, especially for my buddy Kris, who is, yes, a facilities manager, but also an actor and a voice actor. So I have devised a game. It's called Adventure, Vacation, Podcast, and Perform. I am going to give Kris a set of 4 characters, and he's going to have to pick one character to go on cosmic adventures with, a la the traditional doctor and companion relationship. He's going to have to pick one character to take a restful and relaxing vacation with. He's going to have to pick one character to start up a new podcast with. Of course, not abandoning Media Lit or Batman by the Numbers, but starting yet another podcast journey with another new friend. And finally, the 4th character is going to be someone that Kris, the actor, would like to perform opposite of. Either on screen or on stage, I will leave up to Kris, the actor here. Now, we are going to go with acting opposite this performer in their Doctor Who role. So, for instance, if it's Matt Smith, we're not going to talk about how much we want to play opposite Daemon Targaryen. We're going to focus on this 11th Doctor role. Kris, any questions before we get the first set of names?
No, sir. I think that I'm excited for this little activity. I was clutching my pearls at the very name of the traditional exercise, so I'm grateful for the ways in which you found a nice way for us to play in this world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now listen, my first set of characters is going to be the 4 doctors that Kris has had a chance to spend time with so far. So we have got the 10th Doctor, portrayed by David Tennant, who, granted, Kris has only had a couple quick snippets of in the episode Blink, and a little clip from the Sarah Jane adventures that I forced him to watch in our Doctor Who minisode. So not a full picture. We've got our recent episode with Matt Smith's 11th Doctor. We've got Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor, and of course, Unshuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor. Kris, adventure, vacation, podcast, perform. How do you place these fellas?
My goodness gracious. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. Let's start with the adventure. Who do I want to travel the stars with? Go on an adventure with. I'm going to go 12 here. I'm going to go Capaldi. And now, the truth is, there are others that I would rather adventure with, but I'm saving them for other categories for I think more poignant reasons. Because I would love to adventure with 10. I'm picturing David Tennant's Doctor at the end of that episode. Does he have a bow and arrow with him? They're kind of getting out of a cab. They're in the city, but he's got like a bow and arrow. They're off the, and I just kind of picture that being a blasty blast with him throughout space and time. But I have a different purpose for 10. So we'll go with 12 here because Heaven Sent was, I think we picked that because it was a great standalone episode, right? It was something that could be treated sort of like a bottle. Yeah, it came from the existing storyline. It fed into the existing storyline, but really as a bottle episode, it's quite enjoyable on its own, right? I encountered him as so formidable in that time. Not just in body, but in mind, and not just in mind and body, but in spirit. This was a Doctor who could not be broken, despite millennia of torture in this place. So, as much as I want to focus on the fun of the adventuring in time and space, I have to admit that we're going to get into some stuff. There's going to be some danger too. And there are going to be some things that we have to think our way out of. And having somebody who's as confident as 12's doctor is somebody that I want by my side in the stickiest of situations. So we're adventuring with 12. Time to vacation. This one is easier for me because it's 15. I wanted to maybe adventure with 15, right? I said that I picture in Ncuti when I close my eyes and I picture the doctor. I picture in Ncuti's TARDIS, but this is maybe like the most pure fun that I've had with the doctor so far, from musical numbers to dance routines. I think the first time Ruby really glimpses him, he's in like a kilt in a tight tank top, and he's just like letting it go on the dance floor. He's having the best time, and she's like magnetically drawn to him. And
how could you not be?
Yeah. How could you not be? And so when I picture a vacation, whether that be a relaxing vacation or a fun vacation, we're going to go out, we're going to see some things, we're going to socialize and try to have a good time, or we just want to spot up, we just want to relax, we want to find a nice quiet locale, a great book, and a big mug of coffee. I can see 15 serving both purposes really beautifully.
Beautiful.
So now it's time for us to podcast. This is where I'm going to put number 10. This is where I'm going to put David Tennant. Maybe it's because I was primarily exposed to him as a tiny talking head on a screen, as he repeated his DVD Easter egg bit over and over and over again. But come on, who doesn't want to hang and chat with somebody who's that like whimsical? I remember the conversation he had with, what was Billy's last name, the detective?
Billy, yes, I can't remember.
Doesn't matter. Because when they meet in the alley back in the 60s and they sit on the ground together, backs against the wall, and they just chat it up, I was like, this is a guy, 10, that I would love to have a conversation with. Sees the world in interesting ways. I can't imagine his takes. No matter what we're talking about, I can't imagine his takes. So we'll go with 10 for my podcast partner.
Beautiful.
Which leaves me just one to perform alongside of. Just one to act with. And it's Matt Smith's 11. I know you said I'm not acting with Daemon Targaryen, but it's with Daemon in mind that I make this pick because of the contrast and what it reveals about Matt Smith, the actor. I've not been tremendously exposed to Matt Smith. I've seen Matt Smith first and foremost in House of the Dragon. So that is my stock form for Matt Smith. I saw him smile with his teeth in this episode as 11, and I realized that was something I had never seen him properly smile before. And I know that he's, a decade younger or more, right, as 11. But he's a totally different person on that screen. I was so intrigued by his quality as an actor, how much it lives in his body, how much it lives in his voice. Could not be any more different from Daemon Targaryen. And for that reason alone, I would love to share even a small scene with Matt Smith.
Yeah, Kris, not surprisingly, you nailed that exercise. I love your reasoning for Matt Smith. And I think one of my favorite things is those performances are so different to a point, because they're two very different characters, but you don't really want to cross either of them. And I love that there is that baseline that ties both characters together. You get a little bit of a glimpse of that in this episode. Could you taste it?
Just a little bit, but it was still so, well, we'll get to it, but it was still so wrapped up in not whimsy, wonder. I never found him, I mean, I think he even gets called out by Amy that he can't get too emotional. So it suggests that there's like a side of him that I'm not seeing. But yeah, it was hard to see any Daemon in 11.
Beautiful. We've got one more round to this game. I would like you to place some of the companions that you've met so far into these same 4 categories for our game. Now, first on the list is going to be Clara Oswald. Granted, you have only met a Mind Palace projection of Clara Oswald that Peter Capaldi's doctor kind of created for himself. But I think I would say she feels pretty true to the Clara that you would have known if you had seen the whole run up to that point. So I'm going to let you comment on this Clara as portrayed by Jenna Coleman. I'm going to put Sally Sparrow on the list as portrayed by Carey Mulligan. Now, Whovians, I know that Sally Sparrow is not actually a companion. To this date, unfortunately, Carey Mulligan remains a one-shot Doctor Who appearance. We've not been graced with her presence again just yet, but I'll never give up hope personally. But she is so capable and worthy of companion status that I think she belongs on this list based on what I've had Kris watch so far. So we're going to put Sally Sparrow on the list. We're also going to have Amy Pond, portrayed by the great Karen Gillan, someone we've talked about a lot in terms of her work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And finally, Ruby Sunday, as portrayed by Millie Gibson. Kris, how would you place these companions into the categories?
Clarifying question. I can't pick Sally for all of them.
Sadly,
Correct.
You can't pick Sally for every category.
Okay.
She is that great, though. I understand. I understand the temptation.
Thank you. I appreciate you understanding me. Okay. So, adventure. The only answer, unfortunately, because I want to. This hurts me. I'm going to put Sally here as my adventuring companion because A, she deserves more time adventuring and living an exciting life, and I have a hard time believing that she and Lawrence, perhaps Lawrence is fulfilled. I don't think she's as fulfilled running the bookshop or the CD shop with him going forward. She wants more, and I want it to be with me on an adventure. So give me Sally as my adventuring partner. I'm going to miss podcasting with her. Dang it. Okay.
Yeah, but get her out of that DVD shop, man. I mean,
thank you. The DVD shop, yes.
I mean, it's probably defunct anyway, just due to the nature of the world and media, but let's just make sure there's no chance she's stuck in that awful dead end that she was in.
Sparrow and Nightingale, right? Sparrow and Nightingale. Yeah, no, I want to spend as much time with her as possible. That's why I had to put her here in adventure because vacation is too short. I can't just hang out for a little bit and then say goodbye. A podcast is not regular enough. And yeah, she's my adventure partner. Okay. So who do I want a vacation with then? Oh, I mean, this is going to mirror her doctor. Give me Ruby Sunday. Absolutely. She brings a fun to match in shooties really, really well, right? I'm thinking about the Goblin Blimp, where they share that musical number, trying to distract the Goblin King long enough so they can save the baby's life. She's a blast. She is just as fun. She's holding her own on that stage in that musical number. And so, yeah, I'd love to hang with Ruby all day.
Great choice.
Podcast. Give me Amy here. And I say Amy because I would love to spend additional time with Karen Gillan, so I'm not going to one and done her on a vacation. I think that Amy's going to be, from what I saw in this episode, it's just the one exposure to her. But she was a confident, driving force. She even has the opening narration in the opening credits sequence.
Indeed, yes.
That threw me. I was not prepared for such a centrally placed companion. And so I have to think that conversationally, she's going to have a ton to say. She'll be so interesting. She'll have seen so much. She is the companion that I've seen seems to have the most experience with the Doctor. Like I said, standing on her own 2 feet in that story. Which leaves me, of course, with somebody to perform alongside of. And you pointed out that Clara was not somebody that I experienced as maybe properly as the companion, but my goodness, was she affecting in her time in Heaven Sent as that projection of the TARDIS. everything she pulled out of 12 emotionally and intellectually, I believed. I learned so much about their dynamic and their relationship through her performance. And so I would love to be able to partner with that. I would love to get in a room, get my hands on a script, and see what it looks like to spend some time with her.
Yeah, and Jenna Coleman spent a lot of time in that companion role. She spans, both Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi eras. So we get to see her in a lot of different capacities. I'm a big fan of Clara Oswald. She is polarizing. I think you'll begin to understand why when we get through our full rewatch. You're going to have a lot of questions for me when you first see her in our rewatch, and you're going to be confused. And we're going to have to spend some time unpacking it. But yeah, fantastic choice.
So she's a two doctor companion.
She is, yes. That's
Interesting.
rare.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but yeah. So Chris, thank you so much for playing that little game. I really deeply appreciate it. I've got one last little side activity for you. This is just based on the doctors and the companions that you've seen so far. But if you could pair one doctor you've seen with one companion you've seen who have not already appeared together, what's a pairing you would love to see?
Oh, give me Nshuti and Sally. Give me 15 and Sally. I think that she is going to be so tickled by this character. I feel like all the curiosity that lives inside Sally is going to be awakened when she encounters, like very similar to Ruby, right? She's intrigued by seeing this dancing person on the in the club, and I think Sally would experience him the same way. She's very, very thoughtful, and she's very, very deep. And I think that there's something deep and emotional and beautiful inside of Nshuti's doctor as well. Just in the little bits that I've seen through the first half of season 1, he's a deeply feeling doctor. High highs, right? Ecstatic joy and deep sorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Deep sorrow. And so I think they would get on quite well. I think she would be able to meet him where he's at in that sorrow, but not let him lose himself to it, right? She's a person who can touch the dark and step back. She understands sadness, is happy for deep people. And I think that she can help heal whatever's happening inside of Nshuti that way. And he can show her so much more. As I was saying before, I want to bring her on my own adventure, right? Get her out of the DVD shop. And I think she deserves a fun friend, a fun companion like 15. I want to see her see things that she's never imagined.
Yes. That's such a wise choice. You're right. Sally has so much wisdom. She could help Unshuti so much. And she learned so much about the doctor, even though she only spent mere seconds with him. Just the experience of those DVD Easter eggs and experiencing how he impacted events around her. She saw him, and understood him.
She finally puts it all together, right? Very quickly. She understands all this timey-wiminess so well that as soon as she sees him and he doesn't recognize her, she gets it. Ah, it was me all along. Brilliant.
Awesome. Just one little thing I want to say. If you're listening out there and you are thinking, how dare you keep Martha Jones off of this list, Media Lit podcast? Here's why. I, Randy Elaine, am one of the biggest Martha Jones stans in the fandom. I love Martha Jones, but the peak Kris got was so quick. I didn't want to belittle Martha as a character by having him go on so little. So trust me, I am not going to shut up about Martha Jones because I love her, and we'll get there. So thank you.
That was probably wise, right? There's no way I could give her the kind of shine she likely deserves because I've spent almost no time with her. Not even a whole episode. Not even a third of an episode. All right. That was a ton of fun. Thank you for gamifying this experience. You are a brilliant games master, and I appreciate you. But now it's time to talk about this episode, right? Let's talk about 11. Let's do my favorite Media Lit segment. The episode is literature. On to you, buddy.
All right. So, folks, as you saw from the episode title, we are talking about Season 6, Episode 4, The Doctor's Wife. This is an episode that I would argue is one of the most important episodes in all of New Who lore. Um, One disappointing reality of this episode is that it was penned by Neil Gaiman, who was recently exposed to have a pretty troubling history of abusing and taking advantage of women. And I do not look to celebrate him or what he has done in this episode. But when we are trying to look back on formative moments in people's media experiences, we're sometimes going to bump up against moments like this. So I do want to acknowledge that reality and the harm that Neil Gaiman has done and give you my promise that we're not here to celebrate him. I'm a lot more interested in the performances from the actors and actresses here, and how these ideas reflect the larger lore. Kris, do you have anything to say on that?
That was really well said. I'm grateful you took the moment to put that in there. I think it's the nature of media lit. We're going to be looking back at old stories. And in that way, we're going to bump up against some moments like these. I'm grateful you found the words to express that to our podlings.
Well, thank you so much. All right, it is time for the synopsis. In case you haven't seen the episode in a while, or in case you just love us so much that you feel like listening to our podcast even without watching the episode, here's what we're talking about. The episode opens on a couple of creepy patchwork beings and a green-eyed Ood sacrificing a girl named Idris to an entity known as House. They tell her that her mind and body will be drained and replaced with a new soul. Meanwhile, the Doctor receives a distress signal from an old Time Lord friend, the Corsair. In an attempt to answer the SOS, he drives the TARDIS into a bubble universe that is later described more accurately as the drain at the bottom of the universe. The Doctor, Amy, and Rory interact with these very suspicious henchmen as they attempt to get a handle on House, a strange sentient hunk of rock with a gooey center. The Doctor becomes hopeful that he will find fellow Time Lords after picking up the sound of their voices, but remains guarded and tricks Amy and Rory into the TARDIS to lock them in for their own safety. Unfortunately, the Doctor discovers nothing but the echoes of distress signals from deceased Time Lords. He is already angry and broken over having had his hope taken away. And then House makes a fatal mistake when he hijacks the shell of the TARDIS with the 11th Doctor's companions inside. The Doctor quickly discovers that the TARDIS has been uploaded into a human host, Idris, and the pair seize this opportunity to connect via speech, while also constructing a makeshift TARDIS console from the remaining pieces in the TARDIS junkyard in the drain at the bottom of the universe. Meanwhile, House psychologically tortures Amy and Rory for sport. Whether they like it or not, they are auditioning to become House's next pair of servants. While the Doctor and the TARDIS prep their rescue mission, the Doctor comes to understand that he has never really been in control of the TARDIS at all. She believes that she stole him just as much as he stole her from the Time Lords all those centuries ago. Ultimately, the rescue mission is a success. Once the TARDIS's human host passes away, the TARDIS is able to reclaim control of the time machine and force House out permanently. After the Doctor and the TARDIS share a bittersweet hello/goodbye, Amy and Rory do their absolute best to make a human connection with the Doctor, but his walls are still up. Nevertheless, we get a glimmer of hope when the Doctor uses his first moment of privacy to attempt to talk to his beloved ship. She can't respond verbally, but the Doctor faces down his next adventure with a glimmer of joy and optimism in his eyes. And that is the Doctor's wife. Kris, what do you wish I could have squeezed in there, or what would you have represented a little bit differently?
You didn't really describe how very gross Uncle and Aunt were. You nailed the
Yeah.
ood. You nailed the ood with his creepy glowing eyes, but really, man, these like Frankenstein people cobbled together from spare parts. Um, they were gross. They were gross looking. They performed grossly.
Hmm.
Um, I enjoyed them very much.
Yeah, they were abominations, but fun abominations. And Chris, when you go through the David Tennant era, you will spend a lot of time with the Ood. And one of the greatest joys of becoming a Whovian is to hear David Tennant pronounce the word Ood. I can't wait for you to hear it.
Oh, I won't even preview it. I'm excited.
It's a whole verbal adventure in and of itself just to hear him say Ood. Uh
Fantastic. Well,
yeah.
that was a great synopsis, as always. I'm just being playful about aunt and uncle, of course. Um, but why, Randy? Why 6-4? Why'd you pick this episode for the next step on my Whovian journey?
Well, there are a couple of reasons, Chris. This is mainly something you said to me in an earlier episode. At the end of these new to who's, I do tend to ask you what's something you'd like to learn a little bit more about. And one thing you asked to learn more about was the TARDIS. Back in Heaven Sent, Peter Capaldi has to imagine a TARDIS for himself because he is cut off. In Blink, the Doctor is cut off from the TARDIS. Sally makes it in there with her DVD buddy. They shake around a little bit, but you don't really get to spend a significant amount of time there. And in the Inshuti Gatwa run, um, in season one, I believe this was partly tied to like COVID restrictions and Inshuti Gatwa's schedule with sex education being something they had to shoot around quite a bit in season one. But they've got this beautiful new TARDIS set, but they really haven't set any significant action in the TARDIS in 15's run up to this point. It's one of the most common comments I've seen from the fandom, like, why aren't we getting any time in the TARDIS?
Oh,
Um, because it's a beautiful set. You could argue it's a little bit cold compared to this very lived in version that we see in this episode, but it is beautiful, and I'd be curious to see them use that space. This new TARDIS has these really cool like little catwalks and things going on. There's a jukebox in there, and I'd be excited to get to know it a little bit more. Um, and when I thought of getting to know the TARDIS, a few episodes came to mind, but this was the one that leaped to the front of my mind. It was one of the episodes during my first viewing that made me want to go back and rewatch all the other episodes, especially some of the other episodes where the TARDIS is front and center, and the Doctor's relationship with the TARDIS is front and center. There are a few iconic moments. Um, at one point in this episode, I believe you see Matt Smith attempt to snap when he's locked out of the TARDIS, and that's a trick that the Doctor can sometimes pull off. And the first time we see it happen in an earlier season is a really special moment. So to rewatch that, having seen what happens in this episode, it takes on a whole new level of beauty. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of what you wanted, show you a great episode, give you a great taste of Matt Smith and some of his range, and that's how we landed here. How'd I do?
you did great. Really. No, thank you for meeting me where I'm at. Um, I haven't really, up until this episode, experienced the TARDIS as a character, right? To your point, the episodes that I have watched, that you've guided me through, put the TARDIS in really particular circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unusual circumstances. So I was excited for an episode that showed me more of the TARDIS, right? Like I'd never been, I don't think, anywhere beyond the main like console room.
Mm-hmm.
I think in all of the different iterations of the TARDIS that I've seen, it's mostly been that main console room. So like these back hallways that Amy and Rory are running through, I've not seen or experienced any of that. So that was a joy. But to have the TARDIS literalized as a character in human form this episode was like pitch perfect. It
Yeah.
was it was wonderful. And I think that's probably the biggest leap forward in my Who journey this episode was really beginning to understand how important that relationship is between the Doctor and the TARDIS. I think previously, of course, I was hung up on the idea of the importance of the relationship between the Doctor and the companion.
Mm-hmm.
But it occurs to me now that the TARDIS is the constant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It may change its interior for the Doctor, but its exterior is the same. And while the Doctor may change his or her exterior, theoretically it's the same Time Lord. So the companions have come and gone, but the Time Lord, the Doctor, and the TARDIS have been together for I don't know how long now.
Yeah. Yeah, in this episode, she claims 700 years, but you've already experienced a couple of different really timey-wimey experiences of the Doctor, so it's complicated, and even the TARDIS herself acknowledges that she can't always keep it straight because it's so
Tenses
confusing.
are difficult.
They are. They are so difficult, especially when you're a time machine. I can only begin to imagine.
So tell me, for you, right? You picked this episode. For me, I've been excited to talk about Matt Smith, but what does 11 bring to the table for you as a Doctor? And do you see this performance like similar to his? Is it on par with his usual vibe? And is it really similar or different to the other Doctors? I'm trying to figure out where he sits.
Yeah, I've got to be careful how to phrase this because I've obviously been strategically spoiling certain things for you, but there are other things I would hate to spoil for you until you catch them in real time. So I think part of my response is something I have to keep a little bit guarded here as to why I care so much about Matt Smith. But this was a really interesting time for Doctor Who. This season 6, it was Matt Smith and Karen Gillan's second season in the TARDIS. It's also Rory's second season in the TARDIS. And this was really like Doctor Who's beginning of its biggest moment in the United States. This was where Doctor Who fever started to reach like its highest point of action, leading up to the 50th anniversary special. And I think it's only waned since then. I'm not saying there are no Doctor Who fans left in the United States, but it was entering its sweet spot. You were seeing Matt Smith and Karen Gillan on magazine covers. The crew came to the United States and did some season 6 filming in locations in the United States. There's a whole New York City episode, for instance. So it was a really cool time. And Matt Smith was, I believe, the youngest person to portray the Doctor up to this point. But what I love about him is he's this young guy. He's a unique looking guy, but I think it would be hard not to say he's a handsome man, even if he's got a distinct look to him. But he's not playing the character as this like dashing hero. He's playing this sort of asexual, sort of old man trapped in a young man's body sort of vibe that I find really compelling and fun. Because he's closed off and he is awkward, but he's also got this great physicality. He's spinning and he's waving his hands and modulating his voice in fun and exciting ways. So he brings this great physicality and not the performance you'd expect. It's very clear he's not just trying to mimic what David Tennant did with the role. How about for you? What was your impression of Matt Smith?
I think you really nailed it. I'm not surprised to hear you say that he's the youngest person to ever portray the Doctor, because that was what struck me most when the episode began. I was like, oh, he's so boyish. He's like a very, like delightfully, stereotypically nerdy, like young dude. He's sort of like lanky and floppy. To your point, some of that physicality is very present as he moves about, and he's in his bow tie and his suspenders. He's much more professor-like than I'm used to seeing the Doctor look based on my exposure so far. And I loved that youthful energy about him. I think he is a handsome man. He's striking at the very least. I did think it was wonderful when Idris grabbed him. Like she grabbed the whole handful of his chin.
Yes.
She's like, your chin is hilarious. I mean, like a whole handful of the man's chin. So yeah, I'm really excited to spend more time with this particular Doctor. I was quite taken. I was quite charmed by how sort of affably nerdy he was, right? He seems like somebody who's just like delighted and intrigued by the science, and loves a good conundrum and can't wait to solve the puzzle. It's just going to tickle his fancy to figure out this next connection. Um, at the end of the episode, he's sitting in like sort of a harness type apparatus as he's making
Hmm.
repairs. He's trying to build a firewall for the Matrix, so this can't happen again. And it was giving me Rick Moranis from Honey, I Shrunk the
Ooh,
Kids,
great call out.
in a really delightful way. In fact, the whole his TARDIS was giving me like that version of a mad scientist, kind of cobbled together from spare parts. On the console of his control room is a typewriter.
Hmm.
It's a time machine, like doing all sorts of very complicated mechanical things, and there's a typewriter set in there, which I know he literally builds a console from junk in this episode, but his whole control room already felt that way. Like it was cobbled together from junk in a really charming, eccentric, not quite Doc Brown, much more Rick Moranis kind
Yeah.
of way.
Love that Rick Moranis call out. Yeah, you've got like there's like some random like engine coolant or something like hanging out, sticking out of the console. But
Yeah.
I'm just over here laughing at Honey, I Shrunk the Kids because Rick Moranis gives one of my favorite line deliveries in any movie ever when he tells his wife that the shrink ray works. And she's like, "Do the kids know?" Yeah, the kids know. Because he still hasn't quite broken the news to her
Right.
that they're in the
Iconic.
backyard. Sorry. This is not the first time that we've lost track of ourselves talking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So
Great
that's an
movie.
inevitable future episode, I would say. But yeah, love that Rick Moranis call out. Yeah, great, great, great stuff. All right, so that's some of our take on Matt Smith. You got to spend a bit of time with Amy and Rory in this episode. I think it's a solid episode for them. It's not like the defining episode I would pick for either of those two characters, even though I think they're strong in it. But what are your first takes on Amy and Rory? Uh, did you enjoy seeing this married couple together? Are you excited to see more of them as companions? Do you want to see more of them together, more of them apart, a little bit of both? How are you feeling?
All right. So initially, just very intrigued because I wasn't expecting a third person on
Mm,
the TARDIS, right? Like I'm very new to this, and so I know of a very specific formula. There is a doctor, and there is a companion. There is a TARDIS, and there are adventures. And so how this married couple came to be wrapped up with the doctor. I don't know if Rory came later after Amy initially sort of went off, or have they always been together? I would like to know more. Um,
mhm.
I did think their B plot was a little weird tonally as compared to what was going on with Matt Smith's 11 and with Idris. You had this like deep kind of human thing happening as Matt Smith tries to save the day, of course, but really he's connecting with the TARDIS and they are trying to come to understand each other and understand their connection to one another. Then you flash into the TARDIS itself, and while they need to be in peril for the plot to work, like he has to need urgency to go and save them. What was happening to Amy was so out of context for me. Like
Yeah.
why this particular torture was being brought her way, where she was seeing Rory getting left behind and becoming increasingly angry with her for leaving him behind. And he's getting older and he's getting older until he's finally just a corpse and he's graffitied the walls. That was all really striking and interesting to me. It was tonally a little jarring. Like I kept wanting to go back. As much as that was interesting, I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And where's this particular insecurity coming from that this creature is preying upon? I still just wanted to get back to 11 and back to
Yeah.
Idris and whatever they had going on. So the maybe there's context to their relationship and to Amy's character that would have made that work better for me. But
Yeah.
in general, I liked their performances. I liked their dynamic together. Loved Rory. Big fan of
Oh, okay. Nice.
Legends of Tomorrow. That's my guy. That's Rip Hunter himself, a a Time Lord.
Mm,
And so really exciting just to see him on screen. I haven't seen him in anything since I was watching him on Legends of Tomorrow. Um, I didn't get hung up on my confusion at any point. I think I just accepted they're
yeah.
both on this adventure. I accepted that clearly like Amy's clearly the primary companion.
Yeah.
She understands what's happening more with the Doctor. She's telling Rory stuff about the Doctor as they go along. So it
Hmm.
seems that she holds some knowledge that he doesn't. I'd love to learn more about them.
Yeah, and you will. Um, this is our third full episode, right? Heaven Sent, I felt pretty comfortable with self-contained. Blink, I felt very comfortable with self-contained. I paused on whether or not I should show this episode to you. Because, at the very beginning, we get a reference to sort of the big season 6 ongoing mystery. They reveal something pretty big right at the beginning of this episode that kicks off the beginning of season 6. And yeah, I don't think that those hallway scenes were masterfully written, even if you have the full context. But they're certainly evoking the aesthetic of some other episodes that we've seen. And let's just say Rory and Amy have a complicated relationship over a very extensive arc in season 5. So they've been through a lot, and those moments definitely land better with context. They were hard for you to jump into without knowing where they've been.
Interesting.
And they also complement some really great moments in future episodes. So I think it fits in pretty well into their larger trajectory of their story. But yeah, that was something I was a little bit worried about because I was throwing you to an episode that was a little bit more dependent on some other lore than what we've looked at so far.
I still think the heart of the episode, the A plot, still
Yeah.
worked very well. It was compelling in totality. I think this is probably the first episode you've given me that had anything of a running B plot. So I have to ask you before we move on. I was shocked. I meant to bring this up when we were talking about Matt Smith as 11. Shocked to hear that he like wiped out all the other Time Lords, except for like the ones that he maybe hopes to still find and get forgiveness from. Did I already know that about the Doctor?
The reason I'm laughing is you did, because you've been watching Nshuti Gatwa's run, and he references being the last of the Time Lords.
I knew they were the last. I didn't know that I was to understand that the Doctor was the one who killed all the other Time Lords.
It's complicated. Um,
Is it possible though? Just aside from Blink and Heaven Sent, like nothing was said in those episodes. This would have been really my first.
no, a lot's been said. So when we're getting very close to starting your in earnest watch of New Who,
Okay.
and when you meet Christopher Eccleston and the premiere run of New Who, something they did to distance New Who from the many decades of Doctor Who that we had been away from for about 15 years when that show started, was we kind of came in the middle of the action, and we learned in the pilot that there was a great time war between the Time Lords and the Daleks, and the Doctor had to make a very difficult decision to end the time war that took all those players off the board. But it's a sci-fi show that's run for many seasons, so by the time we get to season 6, there are more layers of it. And quite frankly, they've still been playing with the layers of that story, like up through the Jodie Whittaker run. They haven't touched it yet with Nshuti Gatwa. We'll see if they decide to go there or not. I suspect they're going to resist it, but only time will tell.
Okay.
There's a lot there. I will say this. I think he's choosing some harsher language on purpose there from a sense of guilt. I don't think you're going to necessarily feel like that's how you would describe the Doctor's actions as you're going through it in real time.
Fair enough.
That's what I'll say for now. It is one of those wells they've dipped back into a few too many times over the years. But yeah, I'll say the short answer is it's true and it's untrue at all times.
I can tell you, it's not. I'll share this now. When House says, "Fear me, I have killed many Time Lords," and Matt Smith just says, "Fear me, I've killed all of them," I was like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah. So Matt Smith, he's like this cute little awkward grandpa in a young man's body, but he can go dark on you fast. When you make him mad, he gets very mad. And he gives maybe the best threatening speeches of any of the doctors.
Whoa.
You got like
Having
a
heard 12 do his thing in Heaven Sent, that is a monumental statement.
Yeah, you got a little mini taste of it in this one. You get like a little catchphrase in there. Basically, run
Hmm.
is a phrase you'll hear from him more than once in the Matt Smith run.
Think I've seen that on merch, maybe a magnet at a Newbury Comics.
Yeah, there's some good riffs on that run. Run, you clever boy is something that another character says. So we get some good ones.
Cool.
But yeah, so you get a taste of it. I think the line in this episode that I really love, you gave me hope and then took it away.
Mm.
That would make anyone dangerous. So imagine what it's going to do to me. is I love it when Matt Smith brings that energy to
Yeah.
to counterbalance his other vibe. Yeah.
It was very, very cool. And it was played against this wonderful version of the TARDIS, right? That
Mm.
like knows him better than anyone in a weird way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's go there. Saran Jones,
Mhm.
star of Gentleman Jack, she portrays Idris for us here, the human embodiment of the Matrix. Monumental task, right? To give life to the TARDIS. You have decades and legions of fans who would likely have an opinion. What do you think as a Whovian yourself? Do you think she delivered?
Yeah, for me, she totally lands the plane. I mean, like the closest thing I could arrive at for a critique would be something that's not her fault. They really she came in and they gave her the full Helena Bonham Carter makeover for this role. To the point that I'm like,
Totally.
did they try to get Helena Bonham Carter? Because this is her costume for every single movie she's ever been in. But no, but I mean, obviously, also you can totally imagine a Helena Bonham Carter doing that same part, by the way.
Easily.
But
Great
no,
casting.
I have to confess, I've not watched Gentleman Jack. I know it has some pretty rabid fans out there, though. But no, I mean, I think she's great here. She is zany when she needs to be. She is heartfelt when she needs to be. Um, and Kris, we are both fans of a little podcast called House of R.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how much Mallory Rubin loved this episode during her rewatch with Joanna Robinson when Saran Jones delivers the line, "Biting's excellent. It's like kissing, only there's a winner." And then later, "I've just had a new idea about kissing." When you go back to those House of R episodes, Kris, you are in for a treat to hear Mallory Rubin react to those words.
I can't wait because as she's doing the rewatch, she's also been exposed to Damon, right? She's seen Matt as Damon at that point.
Gosh, I believe so.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
I'm sure it's coloring all of it. Can't wait to listen.
But yeah, it's a home run for me. I think she really nails it. How'd it work for you?
It worked perfectly for me. I liked that she remained accessible, right?
Mhm.
Like she was trying to portray, this actress is trying to portray effectively an AI, like a highly advanced AI, right?
Mhm.
In a human's body. And that can go really wrong. That can sometimes take all the humanity out of it, right? Because they don't know how to like be a robot consciousness. But she nailed it. I loved the writing that did that work. Excuse me. Some of the work of like portraying the AI, the cyborg, was done by the writers with the confusion around tense. She can't quite tell where she's at in time. Her speech gets a little confused. Clearly, she doesn't understand all the appropriate social cues that we might mind in polite society. But she's not doing anything weird with her voice or her delivery to try and seem more robotic or more AI like. She was very organic. She was tactile. I like the choice of the Helena Bonham Carter costume,
Yeah.
even if it's because it was intended for her. It There's texture to it, all that lace work. It's like this Victorian era gown, right? And so it's busy and it's tactile, and it makes her seem that much more lived in and accessible. And her performance met that. I thought she was wonderful. When she and the doctor get more and more intimate, I believe them both. There's something in Matt Smith's performance that lets you know this is like a little taboo, that this
Hmm.
isn't just a man falling for a woman. He's like sort of aware that it's his time machine.
Yes.
You know, but much like in like this classic trope anywhere else in sci-fi, the the entity that has found new humanity does not have that any sense of that awkwardness.
Mm,
It's believable intimacy. Um, Man, when I I don't want to spoil a later answer. We have an outline, ladies and gentlemen, and I know what questions are coming next. So I'll leave it there for now. Suffice to say that um, I loved this performance.
yeah. No, I'm with you. And yeah, like there's a little bit of that human yearning in the TARDIS performance.
Hmm.
Um, but it never gets too heavy-handed, and that lets it be believable, right? Like she's able to get back to the task at every moment. And I also kind of feel like, probably my least favorite part of this episode is Auntie and Uncle. However, they're a fun way to capture how twisted House is. And I think also like just the weirdness of those performances maybe help sell the TARDIS performance even a little bit more. Because in comparison to those two characters, she can be odd but still together in a way that's really effective.
That's really well said because there's a point where they're being so weird and scary that you realize, oh, the girl they locked up in the cage, that's the sane one we want to be talking to. Like she's actually the normal one we want to be interacting with.
Absolutely. All right. So, Chris, I think you already hinted at the next part of our outline. So let's start to get into some of these moments that we love. And do you have a favorite scene in this episode?
I do, and it was the one that I was wanting to spoil just now. I suppose I split the smuggle here because it's the end when
Hmm.
they say goodbye, but it's made so much more powerful because of that first scene that you already began to describe, recounting Mallory's experience rewatching that season. Um, I love that first meeting between
Hmm.
the Doctor and his companions and this little weird family, quote unquote,
Yes.
on House. Um, when she comes running right up and just smooches him, just runs right up and smooches him, and she's calling him her thief, and it's all beautiful and it's intriguing and it's silly. There's the biting, and then there's going to maybe be more kissing. But that's before she had figured anything out. Like she's still a brand new like infant consciousness in this body,
Mm.
and he's still confused. For all of that to come around to the very end, where she realizes the thing that was on the tip of her tongue that she had wanted to say, and he tries to fill in the blanks for her goodbye, and it's the opposite. It's hello. This this time machine, this brilliant entity that's been traveling with this doctor for, as she said, over 700 years, who she reveals was mischievous enough to steal this doctor and go on an adventure for her to finally be able to tell him, hello, doctor. I was so moved.
Oh yeah.
I've not seen anything else of this doctor. As I highlighted previously this episode, I have no real attachment to the TARDIS as a character prior to this episode. And
Mm.
yet this fully worked for me. A boy and his machine, wanting just a moment of real intimacy before they inevitably have to part, which they know they must. It was great. It was really beautiful. What about you?
I love all the Doctor and TARDIS moments, but I think I'm gonna go with the very end of the episode. The physical body that the TARDIS has been inhabiting, it's gone. It's the Doctor, it's Amy, it's Rory. It's so clear that they know the Doctor is hurting, It's so clear that they know that this was tough for him. It's even clear that they know that he is putting up a strong front. He's pretending to care more about this firewall than anything else. He's trying to pretend he's got this unbreakable sort of emotional strength. He's even like showboating for Rory a little bit, like, oh, all that difficulty getting over it, that's just being alive, and being alive is pretty great. Um, we get the fun little gag about can their new room maybe not have bunk beds because they're a married couple. They would like different sleeping arrangements, and he doesn't get it, but finally is like, okay, your room, whatever you want. But the second they're gone, he tries talking to the TARDIS. I mean, I put it right into the synopsis, so you're probably not shocked to know that was one of my favorite moments. But yeah, the one of the handles activates itself, and he gets this big old smile on his face. And that is something that the Doctor is still struggling with in the current iteration of the Doctor. Even in Nshute's Doctor, who's learned so much. As we are recording this, last week we got the most recent Doctor Who Christmas special, Joy to the World, which was an episode that I enjoyed. But there's particularly one section of the episode that makes some great progress on this side of the Doctor. I was actually thinking of this episode quite a bit during one particular stretch of the recent Christmas special that I really loved. So, Nshute is the Doctor who I think was born to help the character out with this human connection piece. So I'm excited to see what he does with that as the seasons progress.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Shout out to Rory. I do want to highlight when Doctor is saying goodbye to Idris, to the TARDIS, he's crying. Like the Doctor is moved and the Doctor's tearful, but Rory's like red-eyed. He's welling. Amy's not. Amy is moved, but Rory is sad. I was really impressed with that performance.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a throwaway line of dialogue, but Rory is established as a nurse in the continuity.
No, I didn't find it throwaway at all, because I was sitting there, I was reflecting on like, oh, I want to know more about Rory. He seems like such a sensitive guy. He's sitting there moved to tears by this goodbye. And then he shares, of course, he was moved by having to watch somebody die being a nurse.
Yes.
I was like, oh, well, there you go. How I'm so glad that was justified, right? The performance wasn't just a performance choice. It's driven by an understanding of his character.
I'm really excited that Arthur Darvill worked for you as Rory in this episode, because I like Rory, but Karen Gillan is such a powerhouse. You always want to. I always find myself wanting to spend more time with her, so it's nice to hear Rory get some shout outs, because he does some things really well on this show. So I think that's awesome.
What was your favorite quote of the episode?
All right, so I've got a zillion here. But there is one quote that's clearly the most honest and correct answer, because it's the only one that I always thought about regularly, even before rewatching this for a podcast. I did think about the biting line from time to time, because that's pretty funny. But the one that I actually think about is the second best Doctor Who line for me in terms of describing time travel stuff. Obviously, timey-wimey is the best. But my favorite is, imagine a great big soap bubble with one of those tiny little bubbles on the outside. And Rory's like, okay, but it's nothing like that. It's such a great way to play up that we can't really explain what this place is. Here's a metaphor that sounds like it's really helpful, but then we're going to pull the rug out from under you on that one. It is fun. I get a kick out of Amy trying to say spacey wacy later on, but it doesn't have the same ring to it as timey-wimey.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't, but it is adorable.
But the soap bubble bit communicates something similarly effective and clever to me.
Certainly. I love, he looks back and he's, whatever other metaphor they asked about, he's like, not really, but if it helps you, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. How about for you, Kris? Did you have a favorite line?
I did, yeah. It actually does come from Amy, delivered brilliantly by Karen Gillan. Because again, I was really impressed by this companion. I was impressed by her sureness, her sense of equal footing with the Doctor on the adventure, right? Maybe even somebody who feels like she's the one who's actually steering the ship and keeping this sort of whimsical, eccentric, emotional liability of a Doctor in check.
Mm-hmm.
When she and Rory are being rushed back to the TARDIS to find the spare to get the screwdriver that he lies and says is left behind. Actually, let me just say, I feel like an experienced companion should know the Doctor definitely didn't leave the screwdriver in his other jacket.
Mm-hmm.
That's like not a mistake. Batman doesn't leave the cave and say that he left his utility belt in the other cape. If he left the cave, he's got the belt. And I think if the Doctor is out outside the TARDIS, he's got his screwdriver. But neither here nor there. They're rushing back, and Rory's trying to imply that Amy shouldn't sweat it so much. He clearly knows what he's doing. He's a time lord.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, that's what they're called. That doesn't mean he knows what he's doing. I've never heard a companion talk about the Doctor that way. Like Ten and his companion, they've got like a nice sass between them. They've got a really fun dynamic that can be observed even in the glimpse that you get in Blink. But yeah, this line really showed me. I was like, oh, she's to the point where she's even shading like the Time Lords in general. It's like, yeah, that's literally just a title. Spend enough time with them and you'll realize they're not Lord of anything. Okay. She said a lot with that line, I thought, in the way that she delivered it. So it also, again, made me really curious about what she knows that Rory doesn't know and how much time she's spent that Rory maybe hasn't spent, yada, yada. But a great line and well delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what I thought you were going to say for a minute? This is my TARDIS and a woman. And Amy's just like, did you wish really hard? Shut up. Not like that.
No, that is a really good one because I love that you mentioned that. There is something about like the way she relates to him. It's almost like the mom to like the teenage boy.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, shut up, like, oh, mom. And we've already gotten this like boyish, like teenage, like Holden calls her sexy when they're alone.
Yeah.
From 11 as he's talking about the TARDIS, talking to the TARDIS. Yeah, really great.
Yeah, my name's Sexy. I think she follows up with that revelation right after he tries to cover the not like that. But yeah,
she does.
It's great stuff. All right. This might overlap a little bit with what we've talked about, but do you have a favorite shot or sequence or just other element of like the filmmaking, television making here?
It's actually not in the television making in terms of the physical production, but it is in the writing.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's in the writing here. I think that Idris was beautifully scripted. It's difficult to create mystery within a single episode span, right? To both like ask intriguing questions and then answer them. And because they decided on this device for her where she's out of sync, right? She doesn't speak in the correct tense. She's maybe revealing things out of chronological order. She's experiencing things out of chronological order. And so they're able to set up lots of wonderful little bits of foreshadowing with that device. First thing she tells him is that the cubes are going to make him angry. So the moment he opens up that hatch and we get the shot from inside the hatch looking through the cubes out, oh shit, this is that moment. He's about to get real angry. And they did that quite effectively throughout the episode, I thought, to the point where you were satisfied with each little payoff of something that she had said previously that now either came to fruition or came to make more sense with more context.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe the best example of that, one she keeps hinting at throughout the episode, we finally get in her closing moments there. I've been looking for a word, a big, complicated word, but so sad. I've found it now. Alive. Whew.
Oof is right.
Shades of sad is happy for deep people, if you ask me.
Big time. Big time. Well said.
Yeah. Also her calling people bigger on the inside kind of makes me tear up, if I'm being honest.
Big time.
I had no idea they were so much bigger on the inside.
That is tattoo worthy stuff right there, honestly. Really wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been rambling on a lot. I was just going to shout out the shot you mentioned earlier. It's just Matt Smith suspended underneath the TARDIS console with all the tubing hanging down. There are like these bright blue, sharp lines of light, like kind of raising up to the pedestal. They're contrasting with this yellow atmospheric sort of light. He's got the Tinkerer goggles
Yeah, the
going.
big
It's
goggles.
just it's a
Yeah.
beautiful shot. So I think you spoke to it as well. So I think that's all I wanted to say for that one.
Great pick. Great pick. Okay. Well, that means we've done all of the gushing that we're going to do. It's time for hindsight. Randy, hindsight is 2020. If you could make one small edit to strengthen this episode, what would it be?
If I could change one thing about this episode, I think it would be great if some of those deceased Time Lords could have contributed to the solution in some way. If like maybe their own sort of cleverness and intuition might have helped them leave some little piece of information for the Doctor that helped him to like kind of pay off those friendships and those relationships, to give us some hope for the Time Lords and those relationships. Might have been a nice little sentiment. They're slightly more than victims. You could argue we got it because the Corsair did manage to get their cube out into the space. So to a certain extent, this happened, but it's also implied that was House's trap. It's a you know it would have been nice to see some kind of little hint or setup from a previous Time Lord. How
Yeah,
about for you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I love that idea, especially because we have Matt Smith wrestling with, Amy accuses him of seeking forgiveness
Mm.
and wanting to find these Time Lords alive and help make them understand. Yeah, it would have been nice if his character got a little something, some hope returned to him after House took it away.
Mm.
For me, I think I'll turn to that B plot that I mentioned that wasn't super strong for my perspective. Maybe there's a way, because Uncle and Aunt are sort of unceremoniously shuffled off the soundstage when House decides that there's no more Time Lords. He's got to kind of move on and create a new plan. They're aware that he's just going to dispose of them. He's done with. Maybe there's a way to pair Aunt and Uncle with Amy and Rory in the B plot. That's more interesting. Keeps everybody in the mix, keeps it relevant to what we've already learned, instead of creating this whole new kind of like third experience where House is also like a demonic presence who's got you trapped inside the room and is manipulating the environment to harm you. Maybe their danger, the peril could have been somehow tied to Aunt and Uncle. That may have worked better for me.
By the way, did you happen to catch the voice actor for House?
Who was it?
The great Michael Sheen.
It is
Aziraphale himself.
Should have known. Because I wanted to look it up because I'm listening to him like, I know that voice. I know that deep, beautiful voice. Okay, good to know. There you go.
Kris, it's a Doctor Who episode. So, of course, we have to do our segment that originated on our Blink episode. And that is, Do You Ship It? One of our favorite games to play.
Love it.
So I'm going to hit you with a few ships here, and I just want to know if you ship it or not. So do you ship it? The most obvious one, the Doctor and Idris.
Yes, I ship it. I ship this more than I've shipped a lot of things that we've talked about shipping or not shipping. I would ship this all the way around the world.
Yeah, so charming. She's got new ideas about kissing. I'm with you on this one. Kris, do you ship it? Amy and Rory, they're going to lose those bunk beds. Do you approve?
I do, because I've been told to. Married couple is not the relationship dynamic that I initially perceived in this episode. If Amy hadn't had flashes when she's trying to do like the mind code and she's going in, she's trying to telepathically access that next area. The light is like an image of her wedding day. She's like in a wedding gown. Even with that, I didn't immediately glean that the person she's married to is Rory. It wasn't until the end when they were asking for a new bedroom that I caught on that they were in fact married.
Yeah, it's never not complicated with Amy and Rory throughout their time. So I think you're right to sense and have some questions about it.
So
Absolutely.
since they are married, I do ship it technically, but I'm not moved.
Yeah, there's certainly hope for a happy ending for those two crazy kids. Do you ship it the Doctor in Rory?
I do. I do. Um, there was something that I really loved about that moment they shared at the end after Rory confessed that he was still kind of shaken from watching that woman die. And, he's a nurse back on Earth. And um, yeah, I think that maybe he has a bedside manner that this doctor could benefit from, especially if he's given to some flights of emotional fervor. I liked that Rory understood what the doctor was feeling enough to also shed a tear in that
Mm.
moment that he was saying goodbye. So sure, I ship it.
Yeah, it's a journey for those two as well. Yeah, you can catch a few little shots of some residual sort of jealousy vibes, maybe lingering around the edges, but they're in a pretty good place in this episode. So I love that. Now,
Like
Chris, I
Rory
left.
is jealous of the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, Chris, I left it off the outline, but what about Idris and Rory? She does call him the pretty one.
that was adorable to me. I saw, I saw the punchline coming.
Sure.
You know, um, but that was adorable. But no, there's only one Time Lord for the TARDIS, and it's 11.
Fair. How about the Doctor and Amy Pond?
Nope. I don't.
I'm with you. It's not meant to be.
She doesn't need to be his mother for the rest of her life.
Do you know what I love about that, Chris? If it's 2011 and you see these two on a magazine cover and you've never watched Doctor Who, you might think cute couple,
Hmm.
but you see them in action and you realize it's not that kind of relationship.
Very clearly not.
And I love how they're breaking those expectations the same way you might not expect Matt Smith to be this awkward sort of grandpa like little young guy. So it's
Yeah.
I love how they subvert our expectations. All right, that was my last do you ship it, but are there any thruples in the mix here that you would endorse?
Um, if we can just bring Sally Sparrow back to hang with the Doctor and Idris, I'd be really happy. I'm sure that's cheating. Of the characters on display in this episode, no, I don't see any real thruples in the mix. Certainly not the Doctor, Amy, and Rory together. That seems like a recipe for disaster. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a third like mortal being able to hang with the Doctor and his love, the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that a third gets equal treatment in that relationship. So I don't see one. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like we're so close to some, right? Like I almost feel like Amy and Rory could use a third dynamic in there, but you're certainly right that it's not the Doctor. If that third person's there, I don't think we're seeing them in this episode. So yeah, I think you're wise to read these relationships the way that you did. But hey, we'll keep our eyes out. Maybe we'll find someone as we move through the longer rewatch.
That was fun. I love Do You Ship It? And in this episode, we got to literalize the TARDIS, which was wonderful. But that brings me around to our last. Perhaps, I hope for the podlings out there, the favorite media lit question. If you could take home one prop from this episode, what would it be?
Now, Chris, I did put this on the outline as a question for you to pose, but I've got to hear your answer first because I've got years of Whovian fandom on my shoulders. I've got so many answers, and I feel like as a first time viewer who's agreed to go on this journey with me, I want you to have first pick, bud.
This is tough for me because there's an old royal typewriter immediately to my right.
Nice.
I love typewriters. I think they're just the most delightful bit of old timey technology. And so part of me for that novelty would just love to take that typewriter right off the console of the TARDIS, take that bit of set design, and maybe it'd have to be a like Bobby Moynihan level size prop, right? Maybe it has to be the whole console section
Sure.
with the typewriter set into it so that you understand what it is. But if not that, then really it's one of the white cubes. I don't know how often that exact tech reappears elsewhere in the Who lore, but it was a striking visual. I think it's something it fit perfectly into the world and genre of sci-fi. If you told me that those cubes were a conveyor of communication out of the Star Wars universe, I'd have no problem believing that. They're
Hmm.
bright and white and glowy. They would look great on a desk or on a bureau, on a shelf at home. And so, yeah, I suppose the white cube more practically than the typewriter.
Yeah, great pick. It was on my list. I don't think we see these cubes again, but you've got more cool cubes in your future as a
Love a cool cube.
Whovian. So, not your last cool cube. Mine is going to be those little tinkerer goggles that Matt Smith is wearing as
That's
he's
good.
suspended beneath the TARDIS. Partly because I love them in this episode, but partly because a doctor you have not met yet, Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor, is established as being a particularly strong tinkerer. When she debuts, you will get to see her construct her own sonic screwdriver from a box of scraps instead of just having the TARDIS spit one out for her, like we'll see in other instances. Uh, and she rocks those. I don't know if it's the exact same pair, but it's a very similar pair of goggles that she rocks several times. My biggest complaint about the Whittaker run is that she didn't rock the goggles often enough for me.
Mm,
That's my only complaint because it,
okay.
it it really worked for me when they let her rock those goggles. So give me the goggles. I want them on my list. I should tell our podlings if you tune in for our end of season one extravaganza, Kris and I are going to be taking you on a little tour of our treasure troves of props we have collected from media properties this year. I can't wait to share that voyage with you. I just added a new item to my closet. And yeah, I'm excited.
Good stuff. Really good stuff. I'm excited to celebrate with you. Well, that was a blast. Did we do it? I think we did it.
I think we did. No, Kris, before we go, you've already committed to this Doctor Who rewatch with me, which I really appreciate and I'm really thankful for. Um, but how excited are you to meet another iteration of the Doctor? And do you have any specific requests in new pieces of the lore or the characters that you'd like to understand on a deeper level?
I'm always, first and foremost, putty in your hands to go be molded as you see fit. I'm the companion to your doctor, so I don't ever want to like say anything that guides you too much into your next step,
Sure.
right? I'm always ready to meet another iteration of the doctor. I think that's been a really fun part of this exercise. Um, I think at this point, I'm I'm becoming more and more intrigued by the larger overarching story that connects all of these different doctors.
Yeah.
That time war they keep iterating on. So if there's a way to go earlier in the new Who run and uncover some of the however they chose to set the table for that conversation in this new iteration of Who, I'd love to explore if that's fair.
I think that's incredible. So Kris, you actually just helped me out quite a bit. I forgot to fact check myself before this episode. I believe the last time we met, I hinted that we were likely going to watch a Jodie Whittaker episode next.
Mm-hmm.
We wound up jumping to Matt Smith. I just want our podlings to know this is not a shot at Jodie Whittaker. The reason we are not bringing you a Jodie Whittaker episode right now is we are currently trying to put together something special for our Jodie Whittaker experience. So when that comes together, I'll give you more info. So Kris, I was gonna say like Jodie Whittaker is our next stop, no matter what. But hearing how ready you are for the larger lore and how interested you are in going back, I think my next homework assignment for you is I'm gonna have you watch like the first 6 episodes of season 1 of New Who. I think let's go back to Eccleston.
Whoa.
Um, I know which Jodie Whittaker episode I want to show you. We are going to take a break from our rewatch at one point, so I can give you one more doctor to put on your belt. But I want to make sure we do that right because we've got a chance to do something really cool and fun with it. Uh, so it's possible we'll get to Jodie Whittaker first. It's possible we'll get to Eccleston first, but we're going to get you on that mission of the journey in earnest. I think you've earned your way there. I think I've taught you the most important things that you need to know. And the way I envision us working this is I'm usually going to assign you something like 4 to 6 episodes. You're going to take your time when you're able to get to them. And then we're going to chat. And I'm hoping that there'll always be at least one episode that we think is worth a deeper dive.
Cool.
And we can work into the outline some lighter discussion of some of the surrounding episodes and context. So
Cool.
maybe we'll pick the pilot episode, Rose, or perhaps we'll pick a different episode from the first set of 6, and we'll certainly touch upon the other episodes if we do that. Does that sound like a good approach to you?
Sounds like a wonderful plan.
We'll start the rewatch. We'll do a Whittaker aside. At some point, we'll do an Unshuti aside to check in with how you're doing with that journey. But yeah, I think let's do it, man. We'll keep it a little timey-wimey, but let's get to the very beginning.
Stoked. We got to begin at the beginning. I'm also particularly intrigued for Christopher Eccleston because I know him from one thing and one thing. Well, actually, no, I know him from a few different things, like Thor of the Dark World, but that's not what I'm thinking of. Really, truly, I know him from one thing and one thing only. Do you know what that one thing is?
Is it The Leftovers?
It's not The Leftovers.
Oh.
It's earlier. It's more. Like I said,
Wait,
if I know him
you
from
said
one
not
thing,
Thor, right?
not Thor.
Yeah. I'm not sure. What do you know him from?
He was the primary antagonist in a Nick Cage adventure called Gone in 60 Seconds. Do you remember this car heist film, Gone in 60 Seconds? Nick Cage, Giovanni Ribisi, Angelina Jolie, Timothy Olyphant.
I'm laughing because I saw that movie twice in theaters because I was in high school and I had a bunch of friends who were really into like their cars.
Yeah.
And I was not into it.
Right.
But I was sort of like lightly pretending to be like, it's not like I was pretending I had a car I was working on. It was more like a lot of smiling and nodding. Like, yeah, I really want to go see God in 60 Seconds again. Cars are the best. Not actually saying those words, but going along with it. Yeah. Did we have some like really kind of crazy dreads on Angelina Jolie in that one?
Blondie dreads. Yes, we did.
Yep. I vaguely remember enjoying it, but I could not tell you the first thing about the plot. And I did not remember Christopher Eccleston being there, so might have to revisit that one.
Okay, well, while I'm watching the first 6 episodes of season 1 of New Who, you find time to watch Gone in 60 Seconds.
All right, it's a deal, man. Let's do it.
All right. Man, this was a blasty blast. Thank you, as always, for guiding me on this epic journey, this timey-wimey adventure. It's been a blast. That's going to do it for tonight. And so, podlings, as ever, thank you for listening. Please, I invite you, jump into the social medias and say hello. We have votes for our drafts. We have silly little posts to preview the upcoming episodes. You will constantly be abreast of all things Media Lit if you follow us on Instagram at media.lit.pod. There you'll find all the links to our website, other social media places, links to key episodes. Do me a favor, give us a follow on Instagram. And while you're at it, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Give us the 5-star ratings. And if you've enjoyed what you've heard here, if you have opinions on the ships that we either did or didn't ship tonight, if you would like to play your own version of Adventure, Vacation, Podcast, or Perform, please email us at media.slash.lit@gmail.com. All podlings are welcome.
No, thank you so much for plugging the Instagram and the email, Chris. We do look forward to hearing from all of you. Before we go, Chris, where can folks find you on social media, and what other projects or podcasts do you want to talk about?
Well, aside from co-hosting Media Lit with you, my dear friend, I'm also the co-host of the Batman by the Numbers podcast on the Pop Break TV feed. I got a blasty blast with my buddy Dan Cohen over there talking about all things Batman. And in the year ahead, we're ready to embrace Batman's best pal, Superman. It's our world's finest era as DC Studios officially kicks off its universe, as we get the first Superman movie in the James Gunn world. We're excited to spend a year discussing those two. Randy, you were just a wonderful panelist on our most recent draft episode trying to define...
shucks.
Shucks. A little Batman villain draft to define the ultimate in Batman villainy. We had a good time doing it, so stay tuned for that. Aside from podcasting, I'm also a father and a husband. I'm an actor and a voice actor. You can find me doing all of those things over on Instagram at Kris_Ingersoll. That's Chris, spelled like Kringle.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. And thanks for having me on Batman by the Numbers. I'm not sure how it happened, but I've somehow become Dan's nemesis. So we'll see where that takes us. No, in all honesty, though, I love the dynamic you guys have over on Batman by the Numbers. You should all definitely subscribe to the Pop Break feed and check out Batman by the Numbers. While you're over there, you can also check out a little podcast called Pod of Doom. This is a music podcast appreciating the discography of Black Sabbath, which I do with Justin and Chris Mancini. During our little foray into Boston, Chris, you got to meet my buddy Justin Mancini for the first time. Isn't he a great dude?
Wicked good dude. I really enjoyed hanging with him.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He's a kind human being, and I had such a great time getting to meet him in person for the first time. But yeah, you can also check me out over at the Pop Break. Look for my writing over there, and be on the lookout for my upcoming Severance Season 2 coverage. I cannot wait to get back into theorizing. And I think it's going to be a good one, folks. I've got high hopes. All right. I think that brings us to the end of the social media plugs. Thanks for joining us once again, and have a great night.
Spacey Wacy.